Epsilon zero and mu zero have non-similar qualities. Still, we are told they both equal the permeability of free space. Phonics are funny. It is why I don't play poker with animals. Some of them are cheetahs. But we today call reading glasses cheaters while allowing Congress people to legally trade on inside information. But nothing happens in a vacuum, or so I am sold. Nothing happens in a vacuum, or so I'm sold on that idea by normalization. Some people and Alan Paco plan on planning. I plan on saying, welcome everybody. The mud flood was Armageddon. The mud flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything, not one thing else, unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Look, it's the thing. And here's the pictures that are going to help me get you through this. Screenshot tool? No. Old news. Aspen. Huh. Just give me one more second here to get myself situated and there. It's a solid red. That means it's recording. I've never been to Aspen. It's one place I haven't been yet. What do they got? They're a little skiing, a little. This over here, the race course. Insanity. Oh, what? Where did it come from? Am I even not going on the right pictures? Who are these people? Who what in the world? Is this turning into like a mud flood thing? That God has taken over everyone, no longer in charge of showing the. Am I even showing the pictures? Where is this stuff coming from? Hey, there's some cheaters. What? All right, let's first off see. Am I sharing the screen? Hey, Waka Joaquin. All right. Joaquin is training for a race. Look at that. Man, it is good to see you. I started that showing the pictures with 5 people, but they dropped off because I didn't get into atomic coincidence fast enough. But this is for posterity and permeability. I got to find those pictures, man. This looks more along the lines of what I'm doing today. No, it was Oppenheimer. This was the imaginary numbers from yesterday. But we're getting close. There's a new one. Permeability of free space. Does that look like a good thumbnail? No batteries. What's going on? So I asked a question. Mu zero, also known as the permeability of free space, is a fundamental physical constant that quantifies how a magnetic field propagates through a vacuum. It is approximately 4 of these times 10 to the negative 7th power, and describes how easily a magnetic field can pass through empty space. This constant is crucial, and that's the crux of the matter based on the crucifixion, that everything in this world relates to Jesus. It defines the relationship between magnetic field strength and magnetic flux density in a vacuum. Only in a vacuum? My question was, what, in quotes, new math was needed for atomic weapons? Who thought of it and when? The new mathematics needed for atomic weapons are not purely abstract math. There's some regular math in there, but applied nuclear physics and engineering. Okay, so here's the made up part that some engineering, fulcrum is a real thing. Engineering that combined decades of theoretical work with brand new experimental and computational methods. Key new scientific and mathematical ideas. Nuclear fission theory. In the 1930s, Leo the Giro conceived the idea of self-sustaining chain reactions. So this is like, how new is it? 1930s, that's less than 100 years. Jewish people, self-sustaining chain reaction popped into Leo's brain, and it required the understanding that certain heavy nuclei like uranium or plutonium could split when hit by neutrons, releasing energy and more neutrons. And in 1938, Otto Hahn, Fritz Strassmann discovered barium from uranium fission in 1938. That 5 years later, things are happening. 30s, yep, 33 and 38. Two things you can't make atomic weapons without. They're brand new. So interpreted fission and named it. Enrico Fermi demonstrated neutron release from fission. J. Robert Oppenheimer got tired of Neil and Bob, and he started designing bombs in New Mexico where the Zorro Ranch would be, integrating these new physics and engineering. And these people, Richard Feynman, Edward Teller, Neil Bohr, numerous European refugees contributed to the theoretical and then applying work to their theoretical ideas about implosions exactly perfectly placed. In short, the new math was the application of Q-tarded mechanics, statistical physics, and neutron transport theory. How you feeling about germ theory? How you feeling about germ theory more recently? Without the Fauci being propped up like a mini messiah. In short, the new math is helped to solve problems like critical mass, chain reaction control, implosion dynamics. It was the collaborative effort by gay people and Jewish people and a generation of them and engineers. Remember, these are all, I've shown the the disclosure. This is my opinion. I believe it's educated. You're probably educated somewhere else and want to go see your doctor and consult your uh, economic get some stock tips. That looks fake. So Leo was waiting across the road in London when the idea came to him. I can make atomic bombs. And then they did. Killed an estimated 135,000. It was a firebomb. It was all fake. I hope you've been with me long enough to we've exposed it so many times. But so now it went from 1933, and in 11 and a half years, the United States claimed to have come up with atomic weapons. But it's a reset. They're covering up the buildings. They're covering up the fact that Satan has been loosed. That the Bible was a star fort cities. They've always been star fort cities. King David in the Bible took over Salem, Jerusalem. He named it that. It had another name. It was a star fort city. So he was waiting to cross. He got the idea, went straight to it. Another Hungarian-born Jewish person. You're going to split the atom. Einstein's insight had to make mass and energy one and the same? Huh. He verified it. He broke a lithium nucleus in two by bombarding it with. Sure, you did. Sure, Leo. And now that's how you got the radioactive super bomb we could all be afraid of. Oh, oh. No. So on July 16th, underground, I have become death, the destroyer of all peoples. Well, you also, it's a setup. It was a way to prop up for a while the, Alan Turing and the other homosexuals that did the situation for economics, everything, reading. So let's go to sharing the full deal here. We'll look at this scripture here. What's the daylight? What is the light? We're looking at those 7 occurrences of ha. And you get the root word, and there it is, 52 from the root of all roots. You get prefixes, suffixes. The suffix in this case would be ha light. Ha or OWAR is what it would look like to us. It's HaOR because we are Ha-Adam. There is a dam, and then we were created, our size people, from the dust and called we Adam, Ha-Adam. Unless it's referring to our manliness, which a male is called an Adam, a male. Separated the light from the darkness, and it was good. Her Lord, till it was light. The morning light, the light excelleth. So 7 out of that, but there is a we-or. That's what a ha-or. Let's look at. That's not really we, but it'll pass for it. Light of my face, but all lightning is like from the glittering sword, and God said, "Let there be light." Well, the sun or the light or the moon, that's pretty close to the same word. Ecclesiastes 12. Do you ever look at that? It's the sum of the whole matter, you know. Moon and stars, they rise up. We're going to get old and die, you know. The almond tree blossoms. The grasshopper drags itself along, and desire fails because man is going to his eternal home, and the mourners go about the street before the silver cord is snapped, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher is shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the pneuma returns to God who gave it. Vanity of vanity, says the preachers, all is vanity. Besides being wise, the preacher also taught the people knowledge, weighing and studying and arranging many proverbs with great care. The preacher sought to find words of delight, and uprightly he wrote words of truth. The words of the wise are like goads, and like nails firmly fixed are the collective saying. They are given by one shepherd. My son, beware of anything beyond these. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God, keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of God. Because judgment, every deed into judgment, every secret thing, yikes city do die, yikes city day. Hear, O God, stop and consider his wondrous works of God. I thought I wanted to look at verse 3. Under the whole heaven he lets it go, and his lightning to the corners of the earth. Is it Barak? No. It's a different light. That's the lightning light. We're going to look at some of this, I'll come back to this.
Would hearing about the birth of the Messiah have made anybody think?
Yes, it would.
Revelation 12, which is the astral signage of the birth of the Messiah. And again, various Second Temple traditions about the birth of the Messiah. Now, to summarize,
this is Second Temple tradition. Remember, summarizing, this is not in the Bible, but it's what everybody in the first century knew. Everybody knew about it. The reverse the sin of the watchers. That word, the watchers, they're not talked about in Romans. They're not talked about in Revelation. They're not talked about in Ezra and Nehemiah. They're mentioned in 4 verses or something in, where is it? It's the 4th chapter of Daniel. And they're the good guys. They're in heaven working with God. But somewhere in his mythological mind, all new flat earth history is based on the watchers being the bad guys, the Nephilim, the Gibberim, the insanity of it all. Who's this guy? He's Signal 33. It seems sketchy already. Go, dude. Go.
Things. And what followed was 15 years of lawsuits, pamphlet wars, and a harassment campaign so relentless that Hampden was jailed more than once for the letters he wrote, including one to Wallace's wife, promising her she would soon be a widow. Wallace later claimed that accepting the wager was the greatest regret of his scientific life. Samuel Rowbotham died in 1884, but his ideas continued to grow. In 1893, an English aristocrat named Lady Elizabeth Blount founded the Universal Zetetic Society to carry on Rowbotham's work. And in 1904, she hired a commercial photographer to repeat the Bedford experiment with a telephoto lens. His plate showed a sheet that should have been hidden below the horizon, sitting in plain view. The photograph ran in a few papers, generated a few letters, and then was simply filed away. Then, 40 years later, in 1931, the Swiss physicist Auguste Piccard rode a pressurized balloon to 51,000 feet, higher than any human had ever been. And a popular American science magazine reported his description of what he saw below: a flat disk with an upturned edge. The quote was treated as a mistranslation, but 16 years later, the United States Navy went to look at the upturned edge. Operation High Jump remains the largest Antarctic.
Is it a computer? Is it? Huh.
Perfectly straight, perfectly still line, uninterrupted by locks or bends. In the summer of 1838, a 22-year-old named
1838. Well, they were clamping down early. Remember, I believe Satan was loosed 1711 in the Julian calendar, 1666 Julian calendar. Gregorian calendar would be 1711.
Samuel Burley Rowbotham waded into it with a telescope. He aimed the lens 8 inches above the waterline and watched a small boat row away from him down the full 6-mile stretch with a flag mounted 3 feet above its deck. On a globe with a circumference of 25,000 miles, the surface of the water should curve. Over 6 miles, the mathematics of that curvature put the boat's flag more than 20 feet below Rowbotham's line of sight. So it should have been gone, hidden behind a wall of water. But Rowbotham watched the flag the entire way. He spent the next decade repeating the observation, then published his findings in 1849 under the pen name Parallax. In a pamphlet named Zetetic Astronomy, the
Yeah, I believe yours is flat. I don't know where this guy is going with it. Where are you going with it?
report was declassified in 1993. The treaty system was renegotiated in 1994, and the textbooks were changed over time to reflect the new world people were living in. The world after disclosure looked, honestly, exactly like the world before. Ships sail the same routes, aircraft fly the same patterns, long-range radio behaves.
Oh, okay. Huh. Computers are in on the little season time indicator thing now. 7,500 subscribers seems like a lot.
Applied with the Roman the authority of the Roman Empire were required to publicly demonstrate loyalty to the emperor by performing acts of sacrifice. One common method was to burn a small amount of incense before an image of Rome Caesar while declaring Caesar is Lord. After performing the sacrifice, individuals were issued a certificate proving that they had complied with the Roman requirements. This certificate was known as a libellus.
And all of this is learned through, trusting Josephus and those people.
It would place Simon directly within the heart of the Roman world and closely associated with the same Roman system connected to the beast. What also makes Simon the Sorcerer especially interesting is his
Wow. So it's infected. Doctrine is infected. I had this pulled up and I got an email from a young man and he had said, "Hey, look at this." And I was glad because I already had it pulled up because it is going to change everything. Who wouldn't want to live here? I mean, when the cities are burning and water, H2O is the new gold. Faith is the new standard.
Sedimentary
Why wouldn't you want to live
debris.
here?
And we're like 100 feet up. And it's full of like river rock, everything. And not to mention, that's like 1,000 years of getting washed out. So there was probably,
It's a body part. You know, this here, they didn't put that there. That was there in the body part. Walk up on this place for me, dude. And show everybody what you got.
Those will stay on your feed. If you don't like it, then YouTube won't even show you the video.
Look at that.
Wow.
Water was a priority.
Let's continue.
It was the body part of the Titans. They died like men. Go find a place to hide in the mountains. You might make it.
Wow. Look at this one. It's all ingrown. Whoa. Little roof. Man, I truly feel like Indiana Jones.
This is a TV show. It is so kind of cool when you're there.
Feels incredible. Hiking
Look
up,
at that one. That's right.
where someone carved thousands of years ago.
Yeah, they got little footholds in there.
Wow.
Welcome to your future, maybe. Huh? What? No way. Stop it.
In this image, these field lines have a direction. Outside the magnet, that direction is usually taken as from the North Pole to the South Pole. The important point is this.
I want to make sure I'm sharing the screen. You know, yep, I have this reputation of sometimes not sharing the screen.
Even though the field is caused by the magnet, the field itself is not a part of the magnet. It exists in the surrounding space affected by the magnet. Why am I saying this specifically? Because there are situations where a magnetic field can exist even without an actual magnet. We will see that soon. Now let us move to electric fields. When we were in school, we used to take a plastic scale, rub it on our hair, and then bring it near small pieces of paper. The paper pieces would jump toward the scale. This is not magnetism. A magnet mainly attracts materials like iron, but here, paper is getting attracted. What is acting here is an electric field. When we rub the plastic scale on
It works with balloons too. These guys did it.
magnets, even though the electric field is caused by charges, the field itself is not a part of the charge. It exists in the surrounding space. And there are instances where an electric field can be created even without a charge sitting there as its direct source. Now that we have the basic idea of both electric and magnetic fields, let us dive into a
Here
bit
we
of
die.
history.
Oh, look
For
at
a long time,
so in 100 years, these guys got it 100 years, and then 100 years later, within 8 years, they had atomic bombs in Dream World, not Bible World, Dream World.
electricity and magnetism were treated as two separate things. But in 1820, a scientist named Ampere showed a surprising connection.
How
A
about
moving
that?
electric charge can create a magnetic field. For example, this is a conductor. Both ends of this conductor are connected to a battery so that an electric current flows through it. Current is nothing but moving charges.
Well, you're nothing but a moving charge. You're a human battery spinning in a vortex. What'd you do, Mark? Hey!
Electricity and magnetism. Ampere had shown that moving electric charges can create a magnetic field. Faraday had shown that a changing magnetic field can create an electric field. Maxwell looked at these two ideas together and asked a deeper question. If electricity
If electric could do that, may I make an atomic bomb, please? Or shall I sell cough drops?
can create magnetism and magnetism can create electricity, can they keep creating each other? In other words, can a changing electric field create a changing magnetic field? And
The answer is yes.
this magnetic field is also changing, and this changing magnetic field creates an electric field. In this image, that electric field is shown using these pink
See how they got all it figured out? They figured everything out. Now they can make bombs.
one thing. It is a whole family of radiations: radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light,
Wow.
ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays are all electromagnetic waves. Together, this complete family is called the electromagnetic spectrum. The main difference between these waves is that
I gotta go. While I'm doing this, yeah, the rocks are the body parts. They died like men in the flood. The men who died in the flood, who might have thought, I wish I would have listened to Noah. Their gold, silver, and precious stones has happened to them. I believe they were saved. In our world, we build up gold, silver, and precious stones. See 1 Corinthians chapter 3, or wood, hay, and stubble. Everything about us is going to be refined by fire. We carry no treasure with us. It's in our heart where we build up our treasures. And that is the explanation for gold. It didn't come from outer space. So, but that's a different story and something else we're going. This is, I've got to look up the situation here, and I need to do it to look up my history. So, you know,
the Watchers thing.
but I wanted to show, because a big part of it is going to be this marijuana cigarette that I rolled for myself this morning because I had the time and the opportunity. So we'll leave the screen like this. I've duplicated this so I can go to my history, because I meant to leave a tab up, but I didn't. It's with Beth and Theron. You ever heard of them?
White Tic Tacs in the sky. And this is Far from the Road, no noise.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lying down looking up, and there was these beautiful normal clouds. Okay,
That's nice.
and I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden, from a cloud emerged a looked like the plane fuselage, but just no wings. Okay, and just so you know, I could see many other planes with wings. Okay, so this thing moved. Plus, it was moving really fast. Plus,
He was on a paddleboard. He's a paddleboarder.
I was out on Maguntacook Lake.
Mm-hmm.
This is like when you were away.
When I was away, yeah. You went to work and then you went to the lake.
I went to the lake and I took the paddleboard out and I went out into the middle of Maguntacook. Now this is far from the road, no noise.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lying down looking up, and there was these beautiful normal clouds. Okay,
That's nice.
and I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden, from a cloud emerged a looked like the plane fuselage, but just no wings. Okay, and just so you know, I could see many other planes with wings. Okay, so this thing moved. Plus, it was moving really fast. Plus, it was quiet, which was the weird part, because I was on.
A lot of people might think that's weird. I don't really. I've seen some weird things going on. But you know that Beth and Theron, even though they know I started a website in 2016 called Flat Earth Nation Golden Age Past, and was the first person to start reading Revelation 20 the way that they teach now, and that it opened their eyes. It's opened the eyes of the world. And yet Theron and a group of other flat earthers, basically said you should not listen to Alan Paco because he smokes marijuana. And nobody that smokes marijuana can be a prophet, a teacher of doctrine. That's what he said. I'm not. It didn't hurt my feelings, but it made me think, wow, how could you be so wrong? And you seem passionate about other things that are true.
Not that passionate.
Yeah, I know, but just
Yeah.
don't say any other clues. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
To keep you in line with people we actually know here, because we don't want to like ruin them, or not ruin them, but like, well, we've already like burned all those bridges, so we just don't want. I don't feel like we want to burn the bridges for people.
Well, no, like again, this is.
See, you're getting worked up enough. I took off my coat. Okay.
This is where you say we burned bridges, but I think like
You never really apologize for trying to get people to send you money to buy a boat so you could go to the globe Earth's North Pole and prove that Jesus is waiting for you there. We never really heard an explanation about that, or if we did, I mean, I missed it. But he's worked up. He is worked up about people not taking him serious.
He might do. There was a blueprint of everything that he has done. But to hear it so concisely, this point after point after point, you go, oh yeah, that would really throw the world into a tizzy. And it's exactly what's happened. I mean, to sort of come to in the middle of believing all the lies and be like, he did all of those things. It's like, well, if you were Satan and you needed to deceive the world, do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And that would be really, really effective. And be like, oh, okay. So, another conversation I had with somebody, they really not feeling it. And I was like, I think this is like, how could this not be true? And how could that not be true? And it's too many crazy things that you believe. It's like, well, let's hypothetically jump into the season of deception. You don't believe we're there? I do, but who cares? Let's just hypothetically get there. Do you think in the season of deception there's going to be big conspiracies? I think Michelle Obama is going to be maybe a man, and anybody people that have gotten through a lot of these lies. What really we need the most help with is dealing with those who stiff arm and or blockade and don't accept and then take out their frustrations on you, because that we become dartboard, and I hate being a dartboard, especially when I'm fucking right. Okay. I hate it. Oh my gosh, it just makes me so insane. But that's like, you guys, they're all calling each other brother. It ruins it for me. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So then I'm just like, let's just use first names and just like call it good right there.
Right. I think it's
Well, let's just use sister. Hey, sister Beth.
Yeah. Gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, it's just not.
I mean, I think it's nice when
This is how you make bombs since the 1950s. Forgot to check my thing there. I had a little cough going on. I mean, classical vacuum. We all know what that is. Take the air out. Something happens, you know. If you had, if you could start a fire with a magnifying glass if you had wood in a vacuum. That's a done deal. I'm just showing you that this is all new. 0 plus 0. Permeability, permittivity. This one is the epsilon. You got to have the Q and the E and everything else for their physical constants. It's the baseline physical constant, which is a theory, which is a guess based on some math of dark matter. It's all fake. They faked it in 8 years and made it so complicated that everybody gives up and says, well, I guess you smart people sure figured out atomic weapons. No, they didn't. They didn't. Did they?
Name two charges inside the medium whose relative electrical permittivity you want to calculate and then calculate how much force is being applied between them. Take the ratio of both. What will it be equal to? It will be equal to the relative electrical permittivity of the medium. And for this, remember the data. If I calculate the relative electrical permittivity for air, then it will come out to be 1. Tell me why. Because for air, the value of APPX will be equal to 0. Which medium did you take? Air. So what is it equal to for air? It is equal to the notes. What will be the ratio? 1. You have to remember it. In the exam, they ask in 1-mark questions.
Look at here, we've got the letters, we've got the pi, we've got the Q, we got the E for energy and the E for epsilon, the K for, what was the K again? The F is for force. Is it force in motion? What? Hey kid, what?
Sort of regional underdog, and now is this global powerhouse, on the top of the world, arguably the best or close to it university in the world. And that happened, because of an intentional refocus that began, first of all, after World War II. Fred Terman creates what he calls the private partner, the private-public academic partnership that now every university seems to have. He brought these companies into the Stanford Research Park, and that's where Silicon Valley was created. The early tech giant Sun Microsystems was literally named for Stanford University Network, right? Silicon Valley wouldn't exist without Stanford. And if you actually just sum the value of the companies that have offices on Stanford's campus, it's somewhere north of $6 trillion, right? And so that's what makes it very different than, the Ivy League, which we all know for its excesses and its pipeline into Wall Street and DC, right? That's a real thing. This is so much more entangled because Stanford and Silicon Valley couldn't exist without the other.
It puts a lot of pressure on the students and also the scientific research, right? When we go into Stanford, when we look at it and you're a student there, there's sort of this impression that you have to start pitching your next $1 billion company. You have to sort of be that next person. And then we also see a lot of research at Stanford where people, obviously you're going to go from research paper to big idea, right?
And that is the college. That's where they did the experiment with here, students, you get to wear sunglasses. You're a prisoner. And Michel Trogneux, the man who ended up being the first lady of France, was supposedly in that study. It was founded with a child sacrifice, so some people say. Look, this is happening. And they're not, you're going to be a target. You're going to have to make decisions. You are going to be the ones that realize my body's a temple. I've got to die in faith. It's written on my heart. it's all coming true. The the silver, the gold will go up and down, your property, your mortgages up and down, and everything will remain the same until there's a plasma event and the ATMs don't work and something big happens, because this is God's judgment. War, famine, and plague. We're broke. We're the bad guys. The world is treating the United States like Lee Harvey Oswald. We're going to get the blame for everything, and rightfully for a lot of things. This is a flat earth nation. The golden age is past because the mud flood was Armageddon. Me and my friends will never tell you anything else because we know we're called, we're chosen, striving to be faithful, realizing the only way to prove that you have been faithful is to die in faith or be rescued by that fire of Gog and Magog. That isn't going to happen until 2026. And I know you have an orphan trained brain, and I know it's hard, but this Hegelian dialectic can be broken. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakaman. Adios, amigos. From the border of southern Colorado and New Mexico. That is how I like to say goodbye.